It's genuinely just the best feeling when you're playing a video game and the enemy team calls you out for cheating. Because you're just playing that good. But do you know what would feel even better than that? Getting so good at studying that people genuinely think you're cheating in your exams. Imagine getting exam scores so good and so consistent that they look like they belong on a JSpark thumbnail. Not once, but again and again and again. Because imagine someone said to you, do you want money or do you want a money printing machine? Everyone would pick the latter. I remember when I was young, my dad used to tell me this, quote, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish and you feed them for a lifetime. And so today I'm gonna be your Asian dad. Wait, what? No. And today I'm gonna be your Asian mentor. And so today I'm gonna be teaching you not only how you can study so efficiently and so well that you can dodge every hook and jab that the exam throws at you, but also how you can always be motivated and make studying consistent. Because remember, I'm gonna be making it into a straight A 100% test score printing machine. Warning. This video might make you so good at studying that school becomes too easy for you and you start to wonder when school 2 will come out. Let's get right on into it. The first thing that's crucial to master is to understand that it's all about connections. If I asked you the question, what is a mitochondria to you? You just probably say like, what is it to me? Well, it's just something that I learned in school. And that's a problem because your brain forgets stuff that it deems irrelevant and it actually doesn't care about facts, statistics and things that you learn in school. It needs to know what to think about what you learn. And after you know why it's important, that's when learning becomes really, really easy. Have you ever wondered why like your times tables get cemented and you're probably never ever gonna forget them? Well, it's because your brain decided that it's important from a very young age. You need your times tables in everyday life to calculate like what's the best deal at like your local supermarket. And so your brain realizes that what you learn is important and so it gets cemented in your brain. And so as you can see, since your brain learns best and it retains information when it makes connections, it's really, really important that you make those connections as soon as possible. Why do you think it is that like in those like detective like type K-dramas or like those detective movies, the like kind of main like detective ajashi person like puts like the massive board in front of them with all like the pictures, the evidence and like one massive board? Because that doesn't mean anything until he starts to put like those little pins in and he starts drawing connections and it all comes together in the form of a bigger picture. Students always kind of have this approach. They say they're going to memorize first and then they're going to study later. But that doesn't make sense because you're not going to know how things fit and it's just going to end up taking double the time to study. For example, imagine like you're a book collector and every time you get a book, instead of putting it in the bookshelf, you just leave it on the floor and you let it all pile up. When you bought the book, you remember what it was about, why you bought it and where in the bookshelf it needs to go. But because you didn't actually sort out when you first got it and it's all just there in a pile now, you're going to have forgotten like what it was used for, why it was relevant. What? And so when it comes then like after you've like stacked up all those books and you have to like sort it into like the bookshelf, you're going to find you have a really difficult job on your hands because you're going to have to go back and recall all the way back into the past to think about why this was relevant. And this is the same with your studies. You end up not making connections early, and so when it comes time for the exam where you actually need to use these things, you don't remember why you learned it, why it was relevant, and so it takes so much longer to study. Research literally proves that your long-term memory can even be predicted by your brain activity when you first learn the subject. So try starting with the bigger picture. Learn broadly what is happening and then start to zoom in. Starting with that and getting the main gist and the bigger picture is really important because then later down the line with the things that like if you have missing gaps within that picture, you can cram those in. But trying to build without a structure or a plan, that just doesn't work. The second one is your study machine. Remember in the intro, I promised that this wouldn't be a one-time like lucky A grade that you get. We're going to make this consistent and make it so that you can get these grades that are reproducible. You can get them again and again and again. Because what's better than one A? It's multiple A's. Grades shouldn't be what you chase as a student. We want a system that prints good grades. And if you want to make it so that studying becomes consistent, you need to make studying automatic. And we're going to use a principle from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear to discuss how we can do this very activity. If you want to make an activity automatic, you need to make it obvious. A really, really good example of this is this right here. This is like those like hand grip things, and I didn't jump on the trend. Like this was my dad's, he had this a long time ago. But the point is, when I leave it over there, like on my like bedside desk, because I'm mostly sat here like most of the day and this is where I can see it. This was sat there for like a month and I didn't even touch it, just because of the fact that it wasn't in my like line of sight and I wouldn't be able to see it. And so it just like never crossed my mind and I wouldn't do it. But if I wanted to do this more, all I did was I changed the place from there to here on my desk, like right in front of me, like right there. And then so what happened was, since it was right here, I found myself doing it a lot more. And this is one of the principles, is to make the action or cue very obvious. So for studying, if you want to make it easy and consistent, what you should do is reduce the friction for you to start studying. So this could look like getting all your books out ready to study. For example, you can lay down all the materials you need to complete today's homework, and you'll be so surprised how easy it is to just sit down and do it if it's all there and ready. Make it visual. In the example in the book, in the Atomic Habits, it was about a cookie bowl. When a cookie bowl is literally just placed at the entrance of a house rather than like at the back of the house, participants were like very much more likely to eat the cookie just because it was in their line of sight. And so if we think about things that detract from our ability to study, it's mostly just distractions, right? That's why, using the same principle, you want to keep your phone far away. You want to keep things that distract you normally far away, and we want to keep the things that we want to do, studying, like get all your stuff out ready, be digitally ready, maybe have all your notes ready on your computer, have all the relevant tabs open, and that's going to make it so you can make studying easy and consistent. And the more you do this, the easier it gets, because like once you associate like your desk as a studying place and you keep on doing it again and again and again, the behavior just repeats itself and it's gonna become really easy. And the third thing that you need to realize to get really good at studying is that you need to master the basics. I've dropped kind of like cool tips already, right? Like how like you need to make your connections early and like you need to make a study like machine to make it consistent. But those won't work if you don't have your basics set in stone. A lot of students think that it's like these advanced tips that they're missing out on, and that's the reason they're not getting good grades. But a lot of the time, it's simply the fact that the basics aren't there. Sure, that one study tip and doing like the things I just said will give you better grades. The thing that will get you more good at studying would be sleeping consistently and getting 8 hours of sleep a night. Correct inputs give you beneficial outputs. And so some basic inputs that you need, that you 100% require before you even think about doing all these other things, is eating healthy, sleeping well, drinking water, going outside and getting sunlight, exercising regularly. Studies prove this. There's so many, like there's literally probably a fact by now that you need to get these things right in order to study well. And so although this might be kind of unsexy, make sure you're doing all of these things correctly. And once you get these like really correct, you'll be surprised how much of like a better student you become, especially once you start to pair it with the tips that I've just mentioned. And the next thing you need to abuse to get so good at studying is to leverage trackers. I'll be completely honest, my friends have no discipline whatsoever. They're really lazy, as am I. But I'm going to use my friends as an example, because I have this one friend who never does anything. Like genuinely, I've never seen someone so lazy. But he has an 800-day streak in Duolingo. Bro doesn't have the energy, discipline, or willpower to sit down and do like a couple of maths paper questions. But bro's getting like 400 XP every single day on Duolingo. How? Well, if we look about it, Duolingo is very like strategic when it comes to this. They utilize things called streaks. Because he has an 800-day streak, the stakes get higher and higher. He's made a habit each day, so he's just going to keep on leveraging that, right? Same with Anki and Quizlet. As you can see here, they all utilize this streak concept, so it makes so that they track your progress and you should come back every single day. You should do this with studying. With behaviors that you want to replicate and you want to lock in, you should make a tracker. And so whether it's this like simple template that you could find, or maybe it's on paper, just about what you want to do every single day, every time you study or every time you sit down to do something, tick that off and add that to like your daily tracker. It doesn't have to be complex. The key about trackers is you set the bar low. For Duolingo, all you need to do is get 1 XP. Like you just need to do one lesson and that counts. But he ends up doing like 10 anyway. So for your study sessions, it could be like for every day, your tracker could be 5 flashcards, 1 practice paper, etc. And you're going to tick those off. And a lot of the days you're going to end up doing more. That's great. But saying this consistency and saying this tracker up will make us you feel motivated and end up doing this every single day very frictionlessly. And so that's a great way of getting things done. And last but not least, definitely not least, is to learn the different types of studying. There's a lot, but here are the key ones. There's either cramming, which is basically when you like try and study a lot at the same time because you're normally like short on time. And there's like the kind of like long run, like kind of marathon type of studying. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Marathon studying basis like short sprint studying. And although cramming is like tends to be bad, objectively speaking, cramming is actually good because you're getting in a lot of information and impact like in a short period of time, that suddenly you have like this like massive picture of like the entire topic, and you're learning lots of concepts at once, so your brain can actually find concepts and link faster and better when you're cramming. And so if we can take the benefits of this like cramming technique but also getting rid of the negatives by combining aspects with the marathon, you get a really good study method, which is cramming but in the long run. It's cramming, but start cramming earlier, especially if you're the type of student who can't like find motivations on some days but you're motivated really on another day. Utilizing the tracker and marking down like when your next exam is going to be, start cramming maybe like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the exam, depending on how much content there is, and then you'll find that you'll get a really good broad understanding of the topic, which will make it so that since it's a really like sound and strong knowledge of the overarching concepts, you're going to find that you're going to be really well prepared, especially down the future. So you're not going to have that like really weird like situation where you're having to relearn things that you already learned, because that sucks, right? Remember, your quality of work is the time spent times the focus. And so cramming, like being locked in, like that's really powerful. I don't think study YouTubers actually like talk about this enough, but when you're feeling locked in, like go fully ahead, get as much information as you can and start to make connections in between them, because that's how you're going to be able to study so well and you're going to get such good results that people think you're cheating. And I hope you found value in this, and feel free to go back and look at the tips, because I understand that this might be a lot of like information at once. But if you take action in what you learned today, you're going to see massive results very, very soon. Don't get disheartened if you don't see them straight away though, because after all, it's not going to be like a one-day fix. You're going to have to start getting consistent. So go ahead and make your tracker and start today. And by the way, quickly, if you enjoyed this video and if you enjoyed learning from me, I actually have a program called the Student Accelerator, where I personally help students become the best students that they can be through video courses, like one-to-one sessions, calls, live Q&As, etc., as well as meeting like renowned experts. It gives them an opportunity to enrich their lives as a student, and students have seen massive results already, as you can see. So if that interests you, make sure to check that out in the first link in the description. But anyway, as always, I'll see you in the next one. As that one saying goes, what is that one saying? What happened? Oh shit, whoa, shit, okay. Because